Hi, Anime Scar here. I bring you one of the wildest isekai action anime remonster. Let's dive in. We meet this dude Kanata. He messed up big time by going on a date with a crazy chick. If it wasn't already clear, those stab wounds were fatal, so Kanata gets isekai in the worst possible way. But things don't get any better for him in his next life either, as he wakes up to find this old ugly goblin staring at him. He doesn't understand what's going on, but it seems he has been reborn as one of them. So, the elder gives him a new name, GoPro. The old man then proceeds to shove a big and juicy maggot down his throat for that bonus protein. And since GoPro is a baby, he can't speak or refuse anything. By day 2, GoPro wakes up surrounded by a bunch of ugly green goblin babies, and he realizes he's just as ugly as them. He accepts the fact that he died and got reborn as this weak-ass helpless baby, so he spends the whole day crying over losing his handsome human face. Day 3 rolls around, and GoPro figures out that goblins grow up way faster than humans. But damn, he's still bald as hell. At least now he can move and talk again. So he decides to make the most of this messed up life and goes out to explore the world. On day 4, the goblins, now mostly grown, meet up with the elder who's got a platter of maggots for them. He's done coddling their lazy asses, so from now on they got to find their grub. GoPro isn't exactly thrilled about munching on maggots voluntarily, but hey, it's all protein, so he downs them like a champ. Now he's got to fend for himself and step out into the world. As he leaves the cave, he finds a beautiful world with weird plants and animals all around, and one other goblin that has followed him. He is scared to be outside for the first time, so GoPro tries to reassure him by saying it's his first time seeing this place as well. The other goblin is Gobukichi, and although he is not very smart, GoPro decides to team up with him for one very important reason. He has bulk genetics, so he's going to help hunt for food. So, they spot a rabbit in the forest, and GoPro sends Gobukichi to attack it head-on. The rabbit tries to bolt, but that's all part of GoPro's plan. See, he positioned himself in a nearby tree, and as soon as that bunny gets close enough, he jumps down and snaps its spine with a damn stick. This hunting strategy is effective, but after the bunny has been caught, Gobukichi starts getting a little greedy over the bunny, so GoPro has to smack some sense into him so he knows who's in charge here. After giving him a good dose of domestic abuse, GoPro begins prepping the bunny so it can be ready for their dinner. He snaps the rabbit's corn off, and after inspecting it, he figures he should be able to make a decent weapon out of this thing. Just then, he sees a notification in his head, and he doesn't know what to make of it since the elder never gave a tutorial on this shit. But before he can figure it out, Gobukichi's back in action and ready to chow down. GoPro's got to give in and dish out the meat, and Gobukichi tears into it like it's Christmas. On the 5th day, they keep up their hunting game, and GoPro's rocking that rabbit horn as a weapon. Every time he snags a new horn, he gets another one of them notifications, but he's still clueless about what the hell they mean. So, he sits down to munch on some meat, and as soon as he takes a bite, his eyes start glowing blue. Next thing he knows, he's informed that he's acquired some escape skill from that rabbit. It all clicks for him. In his past life, he had this rare as hell ability called absorption that let him soak up the powers of anything he ate. And while he still got that absorption, it looks like all the other abilities he had before got wiped clean because he's in a new body and all. Still pretty damn lucky he got to hold onto one skill, so he's cool with how things played out. And since there's a bunch of monsters lurking in the forest, he can chow down on them and level up. By the 6th day, GoPro's already attracting the ladies with his bomb-ass meat. This one chick is all impressed that him and Gobukichi managed to snag them horned rabbits when others straight up died trying to do the same. And get this, she's got hair which officially confirms that goblins can grow some follicles. But GoPro and Gobukichi bald as hell. GoPro asks if she wants in on their hunt the next day, and she's stoked as hell about it. But on the 7th day, it rains cats and dogs, so they got to postpone their hunt. Since GoPro isn't got shit to do, he decides to check out what's stashed away because he never been there before. But he isn't ready for what he finds. There's a bunch of captive human women locked up, proving Goblin Slayer was right all along in this messed up world. He tries to ignore it and focuses on crafting a weapon instead. Then this goblin elder named Gobji rolls up, surprised that GoPro's actually motivated to survive. He thinks GoPro might level up quicker than expected. GoPro isn't even aware there's a level system, so Gobji tells him to tap his forehead to see it. GoPro checks, and the elder's sitting at level 86. He mentions that reaching level 100 lets you evolve into some higher being. But goblins age so fast that even though Gobji's only in his 20s, he looks ancient. Before leaving, he tells GoPro he'll see what an evolved hobgoblin looks like when some talented young return from the village. But something feels off to GoPro. Next day is clear, so he goes hunting with the other two. For a week-old crew, their teamwork is straight fire. Gobmi's got their back, GoPro's the mid-range attacker, and Gobikichi charges forward. With that formation, they rack up a fat load of meat. Gobmi's tears flow as she takes a bite because that shit's thick and juicy. GoPro takes a bite too, and he ends up learning a bunch of new skills from that snake meat. Next day, they keep hunting, but on day 11, they make a dumbass move and stumble into some unknown cave. They're face to face with a swarm of huge vampire bats. They start hauling ass, but those bats are too damn fast. Gobikichi and GoPro stay back to deal with them. At first, they get overwhelmed, but then GoPro busts out the evil eye skill he picked up and freezes those bats in place. With the bats stuck, they straight up murder every last one of them, and then chow down on their corpses. GoPro gains some new skills from eating that bat meat, including echolocation, vamp up villa, and COVID-19. They keep eating like kings while a bunch of dumbass goblins watch, starving because they can't hunt for shit on their own. That night, these fools trying to take out their frustrations on GoPro because they think he's the one with the problem. If they put half the effort they put into catching food, maybe they wouldn't be so damn hungry. But they didn't think about GoPro's sense of smell, so he senses their sorry asses creeping up on him. He counterattacks, and although he isn't trying to kill anybody, he messes up on the amount of venom skill he used, and one of the goblins ends up dead. GoPro doesn't give a damn, though he still wants to teach them a lesson for trying to assassinate him. But then Gobmi shows up, and after what she does to them for attacking her precious GoPro, even GoPro starts feeling sorry for them. The next day, they head out to hunt again, planning a coordinated attack. This orc minding its own business, and they throw a rock in its eye. While it's blinded, Gobikichi charges in. The ogre smacks him back with its pickaxe, but right after, its fingers get smashed by another rock. They proceed to mess up its kneecaps, inverting the bend with a club, and to finish it off, GoPro stabs it in the head multiple times. After killing the ogre, they feast on its meat. But since they got leftovers, GoPro decides to take it all back to the cave because he has something in mind. Once they bring the excess meat back, GoPro gets the attention of all of them broke-ass, starving goblins, and tells them they can chow down as much as they want. After some hesitation, one by one the goblins drop to their knees and start gobbling up GoPro's bomb-ass meat. Watching them, GoPro thinks about how he never would have helped people like this in his past life. But maybe being reincarnated changed more than just his body. That night, when everyone's knocked out, GoPro's lying there trying to get some sleep. But this damn notification in his head won't shut up. It's saying he surpassed the level requirement, so he is about to evolve into a hobgoblin real soon. But GoPro isn't paying attention because he's too tired. The next morning, some weird shit happens. GoPro wakes up and realizes he looks different. He's confused why his appearance changed overnight, looking more like how he was before reincarnation, and most importantly, he isn't bald anymore. The same thing happened to Gobikichi and Gobmi. Well, she stayed the same, but she loved the new look on her friends. The elder rolls up to see what the hell's going on, and he's straight up shocked to see that GoPro and Gobikichi managed to level up when they were born just 2 weeks ago. Gobikichi gets GoPro's attention and says he wants to test out his newfound strength by throwing down with GoPro in a fight. Huntin isn't going to cut it for him, he wants a real brawl. GoPro's down for the challenge, so they head out to start their match. They start throwing punches in the forest, and damn, Gobikichi's way stronger than before. But he still hasn't got the combat skills to take GoPro bro down. GoPro dodges a punch and sweeps Gobikichi's legs out from under him, and Gobikichi admits defeat and gives props to GoPro for being so damn strong. But GoPro gives credit to Gobikichi too, because when it comes to raw power, Gobikichi's the strongest around. Just then, GoPro hears some wolf howls in the distance, and he knows some shit's about to go down. He calls for Gobmi, who is spying on them nearby, and tells her to grab the crossbow they made earlier because they're going to need it. The wolves are chasing a bunch of rabbits down the hill, and once they take them out, they set their sights on an innocent orc who was just doing his own thing. The ogre starts hauling, but the wolves isn't letting it escape that easily. They chase it down and tear it to shreds. GoPro and Gobikichi watch the whole thing go down, and they see it as the perfect opportunity to test their newfound strength after leveling up. GoPro signals to Gobmi to start firing at the wolves with the crossbow, and once the alpha wolf is taken out, GoPro and Gobikichi charge in and start beating the crap out of the rest of them. Without their leader, the wolves lose all coordination, so GoPro and Gobikichi make quick work of them and slaughter every last one. Only the alpha wolf is left standing, but even he eventually falls from his injuries. GoPro walks up and takes a massive bite out of the wolf, gaining some extra skills including a leadership skill. GoPro takes the dead wolves back to the cave and tells the other goblins they can feast on them. But from now on, he expects them to catch their damn food. They're all too scared to do it themselves, so they beg GoPro on their knees to teach them how to hunt. He agrees to train them in hunting if they don't know how, and he'll even teach them how to make weapons. This gets everyone liking him even more, and he becomes the leader of the goblins. Maybe it's because of his leadership skill, but that doesn't matter to him. He's going to work his ass off to lead his crew and keep gaining new skills along the way, all to achieve his goal. 4 freaking days later, GoPro laments how his comrades still have a lot to learn. They are grinding hard and GoPro straight up trips when he accidentally walks in on Gobmi. On day 17, all of them captive ladies have taken their own lives, so GoPro and Gobji have a quiet-ass tribute for them. Fast forward to day 24, and Gobmi's out there training them other goblins. But in the meantime, he has been chowing down on any badass enemies he can find and picking up some sick new skills. Right then and there, another group of goblins starts rolling up. GoPro's ready to throw down and protect everyone. But Gobji steps in and explains they're their raiders. GoPro's mind is blown when he hears they're the damn fathers of his generation of goblins. The raiders are snatching another bunch of human ladies, and the evil goblins are loving it because the last batch offed themselves. Turns out goblin DNA is hella strong because even when they get freaky with other species, goblin babies still pop out. Now, GoPro is not cool with what's going down, even though he gets the whole reproduction thing. He asks to take care of them human ladies, but the raiders get all pissed off. GoPro's goblin crew is ready to have his back, but that just starts a big all-division between the two groups. Out of nowhere, 2 goblin chicks, Hobsato and the mage Hops, show up and tell everyone to chill out. These genius babes come up with a dope-ass plan. Have the leaders of both generations duke it out, and the winner gets to decide what the village does next. The raider wants to teach GoPro a lesson, and GoPro's down to throw down too. But the fight's over in a flash because GoPro whips out some mysterious ass string. The others can't understand how he did it, so GoPro explains that it just comes out of his body. He then thinks about how it's an ability he learned that allows him to produce spider silk, and he learned it after eating a demon spider. The girls are mind blown that a badass like him was born while they were away, and GoPro declares himself the new head honcho of the village. He asks if anyone has a problem with that, but nobody has the balls to step up against him. GoPro straight up tells the humans to back the hell off and keep their hands to themselves. He isn't going to do shit to them either, but he plans to eventually send them back to a human village. The girls wonder if they got to do something in return, and we find out that GoPro wasn't all selfless with his actions. The dude wants their knowledge. GoPro starts asking them questions and learns that these chicks were part of some traveling crew. When the goblins attacked, all the dudes got mucked, and these 5 ladies were the only ones left standing. On day 28, GoPro is surprised to see the girls acting all happy, but he knows deep down they aren't fully over the shit they have been through. They are just trying to keep a positive attitude to make things easier. GoPro whips up some grub for them, hoping it helps. Turns out 2 of the girls are sisters who know how to cook, and there's a tailor among them too. The one with glasses is an alchemist, and the scatterbrain chick is an appraiser and a blacksmith. And that redhead? She's a newbie warrior, so GoPro decides she can join their training later on. From there, GoPro starts training everyone hard as hell and talks mad shit when they get tired. Instead of focusing on hunting, he puts them through group exercises for the next few days and drills into them the new rules he set for the crew. On day 31, it's raining like crazy, so GoPro and Gobukichi go all out in a hardcore sparring match while everyone watches in awe. Later that night, GoPro senses that some goblins are about to break his rules about the human ladies. He slices through one of them like it isn't anything and restrains the others. He reminds them about the damn rules he set and punishes one of them for talking back. GoPro apologizes to the woman, and the redhead cries in his arms. Then the other goblins show up. so GoPro tells Gobikichi to take the restrained ones outside. He wants the rest of the goblins to see what he is about to do. Once they're outside, GoPro uses these fools as an example and beats the living shit out of them to make sure everyone understands the village rules. They all get the message loud and clear, so GoPro sends them on their way. GoPro stops just short of killing them, but Hopkin, who caught the worst of the beatdown, ends up passing away the next morning. On day 32, GoPro's crew straight up nails it with their sick teamwork and takes down a badass tri-horn horse. That shit was hella tough. But it also means GoPro levels up and gets a bunch of dope-ass new abilities. One of them is trying to burst, which lets him land 3 hits with just 1 strike. That night, the redhead crashes into GoPro's bed, and he realizes that the shit from the night before messed her up. GoPro comforts her and lets her stay the night. But when he wakes up, Gobmi joins the party too. That day, they find out that Gob, the female goblin, leveled up and evolved into a hobgoblin. Shit's been going pretty smoothly overall. Gobmi handles the ranged unit, and Gobikichi leads the armed forces. Hubsato takes care of the mobile force, and Gob is in charge of rear support and doing chores. Hobbs is the captain of the mage force, but she's the only mage in the village for now. For the rest of the day, GoPro lets the captains handle the training while he heads deep into the forest to hunt all sorts of prey. He tests out some badass demise magic and gets his mind blown because that is crazy powerful. He obliterates a powerful tri-horn with a single attack. But then GoPro realizes he got too cocky because of the magic and ended up in the northern forest. Gobji had warned them all never to go there for any reason. And guess what? GoPro finds himself in a creepy-ass area with blood all over. Remembering Gobji's words, inside, there's this terrifying crimson monster called the Red Bear. And that's where GoPro's at now, seeing this beast just tear through a tri-horn like it's nothing. The tri-horn's armor was a pain in the ass for them to crack earlier, but this bear slices through it like butter. Right then, the Red Bear shows up, and most people would probably run away. But GoPro isn't most people. He wants to fight that shit and eat it to see what kind of abilities he'll get. GoPro's ready to bust out every weapon in his arsenal, so he starts by unleashing phase 1 of his demise magic. Back in the village, Gobmi starts freaking out because she hasn't seen GoPro in ages. The others haven't seen him either, so she gets even more worried. Meanwhile, GoPro gets his mind blown when the Red Bear sacrifices its right arm to block his demise spell. That bear goes on a rampage, and GoPro knows his tri-horn armor won't be enough to shield him. He's got to go on the attack, so he aims for the bear's head. But damn, GoPro's shocked again because his weapon can't pierce that bear's skull, and they both go flying. GoPro tries to cover his ass, but the bear breaks free and unleashes some crazy-ass fire breath. The whole forest goes up in flames, and GoPro's got to heal his wounds. That attack was some next-level shit because GoPro had never seen or heard of a fire-breathing bear in his past life. This is dangerous, so GoPro knows he'll have to take some hits to come out on top. GoPro goes in for another attack and protects himself from the fire breath. That beast is tough on the outside, but GoPro gets clever and uses the bear's fire breath against it, stabbing it straight through the mouth. GoPro's feeling pretty good about himself, but then he's shocked to see it isn't enough. The ferocious bear knocks him back, and GoPro does his best to minimize the damage. He takes a beating from that crazy powerful attack, so he has to admit this round's a draw. At least GoPro's blade is still stuck in the bear's mouth, so it can't breathe fire anymore. This insanely strong bear isn't showing any signs of collapsing, but GoPro knows he's one attack away from death. He's at a major disadvantage, but this dude's straight up crazy because he says losing an arm would just make him taste even better. GoPro isn't backing down. He keeps fighting and lands some hits, but it isn't enough, so he tells that bear he's ready to devour him and goes in for another attack. But shit, GoPro loses an arm. Finally, on day 34, GoPro wins the epic battle, but he barely survives. He finally gets to chow down on that bear and gains a shitload of powerful traits, like dealing heavy damage and having overwhelming strength. GoPro passes the fuck out soon after, but we see he's exceeded his level and met all the damn conditions. Now, he can evolve into a rare ogre species. His consciousness is fading away, so GoPro just selects yes without even reading the details. On day 35, GoPro keeps munching on that bear and gains even more insanely powerful traits. He reaches for his knife, which seems way smaller than before, and GoPro's mind is blown when he realizes he's turned into an ogre. GoPro heads back to the village, but everyone's straight up terrified of him. They think they're under attack and start getting ready to run. They wonder why the ogre's smiling at them, and they wish GoPro was there to save their asses. Luckily Goblin recognizes him, but instead of being surprised by his evolution, she's pissed because he was gone for so damn long. She ends up hurting herself while scolding GoPro. She's upset about his lost arm, but the others are all amazed that he took down the red bear. Gobji's the most shocked of all because he points out that GoPro defeated the master of the northern woods just 1 month after being born. Everyone's got questions for him, but GoPro's just relieved he survived and made it to his new home in this new world. Everyone's still tripping over GoPro's transformation. The dude got all big and ripped, looking like a beast. GoPro goes to check on them human ladies, but for some reason, Goblin and the redhead are right on his tail. Humans be freaking out, as expected, but he manages to calm them down by telling them it's just him. Goblin though seems pissed about something and pinches his leg. The blacksmith isn't happy seeing her creation wrecked, but then she reveals she made her knife with some special spirit stone. GoPro gives her props, but then the other girls start pinching him even harder. The twins need help in the kitchen, so GoPro says he'll assign a couple of goblins to assist them. GoPro's impressed by how quickly they got used to being around goblins, so he straight up tells them they'd make great wives. He wonders if they want to be his wives, and they call him a slick dog. GoPro digs their smiles, but once again, the redhead and Goblin get even more pissed. Then GoPro finds out the alchemist whipped up some poison. At first, it was for self-defense, but now that she trusts GoPro like a boss, she doesn't need it anymore. GoPro picks her up and admires her smile too, but he can feel the other girls' murderous vibes. GoPro spends all his time cheering up the girls, but now his spirit's drained. On day 36, GoPro realizes he can train with the others no more. He's gotten so strong that even his lightest punches put regular goblins in critical condition. Not even Gobikich's armor can handle them. As GoPro heals a nearly dead goblin, he wonders what's up with Gobukichi. Gobukichi says it's nothing and goes off to hunt, but GoPro can tell something off. Besides that, GoPro notices Hubsato and Goblin starting to hunt together. The redhead is doing her training and Gob's still happy looking for spirit stones. As for GoPro, we see he can still use his missing arm like a slime because he ate one before. GoPro wonders if Gobikichi will be alright, but Sei says it depends on how much effort Gobikichi puts in. They argue while GoPro wishes Hops would give him back his book, and he thinks about finally having a chill day on day 37. Gob freaks out when she finds some messed up little critter. GoPro does his best to heal her, but she's losing too much blood, so he decides he has to get some blood-producing medicine from the alchemist. Luckily it works, so they explain who they are to the thing they call a carbuncle. The carbuncle introduces herself as Latana and reveals that she was attacked by humans. The gem on her head is a high-class material, so its price is set to be as high as 1 billion gold. Latana asks that they lend her their power and begs them to get rid of the humans that attacked her. GoPro knows all about the carbuncle history. Their master, Velvet, was this legendary magician, and he made them to guard his secret treasure stash. Latana explains that she got her core broken during the attack, so her lifespan got cut short, and in that secret treasure room, there's a bunch of legendary class items that Velvet collected his whole life. Latana's master straight up hates humans. He'd rather have the goblins take all the treasure than those adventurer humans. They can have everything. So GoPro declares that they will go. The blacksmith girl gives him his new dagger, but he tells the frightened girls not to worry as he won't blatantly eliminate the humans. His job is just to make them leave, but he warns that he might have to use some force if they don't listen. They go through the hole Gob made because that's the way to the treasure room. GoPro decides to try and talk the humans into leaving, so he tells the crew to hide. He finds the adventurers who are looking for the treasure room, but they see him as just another monster to defeat. They attack him. They're in for a shock when he senses their invisible assassin. GoPro schools them, telling them they're robbing and killing someone's house. It's clear they haven't got any remorse, so he figures they're beyond saving. The dumbass humans are just shocked that an ogre can speak English so well, and GoPro says that luckily for them, he also has a good heart. I'm a good boy. They refuse to listen as they attack him instead. But GoPro just easily dodges it all and once again tells them to leave. They don't listen, so GoPro analyzes the situation. These humans got 3 dudes in the backline rocking some fancy-ass magic items, but it's clear to GoPro they rely too much on their levels and enhancements to fight. The problem is, their actual fighting skills are weak as hell, and GoPro is easily able to beat them up. Right then, this one mage dude starts celebrating like he just blew GoPro's damn head off. But they're in for a shock when they realize their attack just pissed GoPro off. He's been all nice and shit till now, but GoPro's done playing nice. The humans straight up pee their pants when they see their level 3 magic spell did jack squat. GoPro declares that the time for being nice is over, fools. He signals the crew to attack, and they go all out. GoPro whips out his blade and tells the humans to regret not getting the hell out of there when they had the chance. After the dust settles, GoPro reveals they straight up eliminated those adventurers and had them for dinner. GoPro absorbs their traits like assassin, high wizard, and enchanter, but that isn't all. Turns out some of those adventurers were high level, and they had some sweet ass loot. There's this rare ring, a bag with a bunch of items, so GoPro just gobbles those up too. Among other things, let GoPro summon this insane cheat item box that can hold a crazy ton of stuff. Then they head to the treasure room, and Latana thanks them. She explains her master, Velvet, was this spirit expert, so they got mad spirit stones in there. She wishes GoPro good health. They say their goodbyes and poof, she's gone. It's a bummer. So GoPro just munches on the gem Latana left behind. The slick Gobukichi wonders if Gob is okay, and she says that she is good. They take a moment to honor Latana's memory, and then GoPro decides they're going to snag all that treasure and split it up. GoPro's amazed at the item box because it still has mad space even after stuffing all that loot in there. GoPro isn't cool with just leaving Velvet's body behind, so he cremates it. Surprisingly, a freaking gauntlet is left behind. GoPro tries it, attaches to him, and becomes his new arm. The crew's all stunned by this, and GoPro shows off what it can do as it feels just like his own arm. When they leave, GoPro decides to have a party to celebrate the successful mission on day 38. GoPro checks out all the loot with a blacksmith, and everything's rare as hell and super powerful. On day 39, GoPro spills the beans that he hooked up the 10 hobgoblins in their crew with some magical items. As for himself, GoPro snagged the Vermilion Spear and 2 other badass artifacts. So now he's got 3 legendary class treasures. Legendary class artifacts. They're like second only to Phantasm class in the ranks of dope-ass items. Word on the street is that if you hold one of those bad boys, you could straight up rule whole countries. Later that day, they go on a hunt for ingredients to whip up some bear soup, and GoPro's stoked to see how everyone's getting stronger. On day 40, GoPro decides to let the hobgoblins duke it out to see who's going to lead them. Except he isn't including himself. He also starts up his mercenary group. Day 41 rolls around, and GoPro sets out to find monsters he's never laid eyes on before. First up, he stumbles upon this golden spider that drops some high-value looking items. The dude chows them down, and now he can make gold string, which he's thinking of turning into some sick accessories. Next up, he comes across some red deer, but munching on just one isn't giving him any new traits. Keeping on with the exploration, GoPro comes across this massive tree. He breaks it down that in this world, there are these creatures called dryads. Gobji spills the beans that they seduce dudes from other intelligent species and use them as their nourishment. Dryads are all females, and they're so beautiful that dudes can't resist once they lay eyes on them. GoPro's giving this info because one of these dryads pops up in front of him. She's ogling his big muscles and says she just wants to chat. GoPro's struggling to keep his cool because she's hella charming, but he can't let her use him as a snack. He's got to stay on guard. GoPro decides he's got to bust out this ability he's never used before called libido. After taking a good 5 hours to chow down on the dryad, GoPro scores a trait called Dryad's Blessing. The dryad is still alive somehow, so she tells GoPro to return soon, but he just says that he will if he feels like it. Afterward, GoPro takes a dip in the lake and is soon surrounded by lizardmen. But today, GoPro's feeling invincible, so he wipes them out in a flash, even taking down another monster for good measure. Day 42 hits and GoPro discovers that 2 goblins have a knack for magic. They're immediately recruited into his crew, but damn, their sly-ass smiles got GoPro a bit worried. Later that day, GoPro learns how to enchant his weapon, but it seems to piss off the blacksmith girl. Day 43 swings in, and Gobmi's all fired up at her boy, but isn't nobody explaining why? They just tell him to use his damn brain. Redhead's also pissed, and even the twin cooks seem upset as they try to serve him some poison grub. The alchemist's all surprised that a sharp guy like GoPro isn't noticed, and she spills that the girls are jealous. They know he went on a date, and they see them kiss marks on his neck. GoPro's clueless. He curses that dryad for doing it on purpose. GoPro's trying to figure out his next move, But he's straight up shocked when the alchemist confesses she feels the same and plants a kiss on him. She's hoping he'll feel the same, but damn, GoPro didn't see that coming from her at all. He thinks it does make him happy. But then Gobmi storms in, furious as hell. She wants GoPro to treat her the same way. And all the human girls show up outside the room, saying the same damn thing. Gobmi explains she's sealed off the room so they can handle some business. And Gobmi's racking up even more traits. A little while later, GoPro picks up on some vibes that somebody's rolling up on him. Turns out, it's a crew of fancy-ass elves. These humans are trying to jack their treasures, so the elves come to the goblins for some backup. Now, this elf dude has a major attitude problem, but he's offering up a couple of months worth of grub for the goblin village. Gobji thinks it's a sweet deal, but GoPro surprises everyone and turns it down. He isn't about that situation. He just wants the elf to be straight up when asking for help. Homeboy gets ready to throw down, but GoPro hits them with a stare that sends shivers down their spines. GoPro warns him to tell his sneaky archer buddies to chill and put their bows down. Those fools try to shoot at GoPro, but they haven't got a chance in hell of hurting him. The elf dude stops the attack, and GoPro explains that he's rejecting the offer because he's just not feeling it. But hey, the goblins live in this forest too, and if these humans are going to cause trouble, GoPro isn't against teaming up. Then, GoPro blows everyone's mind by busting out his legendary weapon, which can scare the living crap out of all the elves at once. GoPro doesn't even fully understand how it works, but if he stabs something with it, he can summon a whole damn army of spears that can reach 100 meters. The elves haul ass out of there, scared shitless, and GoPro hopes he won't have to deal with them again for a long time. Fast forward to day 45. GoPro tracks down 20 gray slimes and chomps down on their cores. That gives him a ton of sick abilities, like healing his wounds quickly and making copies of himself. GoPro tests out the copycat move and finds out he can make a mini version of himself from his blood. He can even see through the little dude's eyes, which means they're connected. This gives our boy GoPro a genius idea. On day 46, he gets the ladies to whip up some clothes with his blood in the lining. That way, the homies can use the clothes as a secret communication device if they ever get in trouble. On day 47, one of GoPro's scouts finds out those dumbass elves didn't learn their lesson and come back for more. This time, GoPro just lets out a roar that shakes the cave, and the elves are frozen with fear, unable to move a muscle. GoPro doesn't even say a word when he steps out and straight up captures them. The elf boss dude starts talking about how GoPro hurt his pride and deserves to die. But the other elves apologize for not stopping their boss. GoPro's made up his mind, and it's a harsh one. The boss is as good as dead, but the rest of them get a shot at surviving. GoPro's going to make them face off against the goblins in a fake-ass fight, and the elves who come out on top get to live. It's a fair deal because GoPro's saying if they want to survive, they have to go all out and fight like their lives depend on it. In the end, out of the 23 elves, 6 of them got handed to them. All 6 were dudes, but GoPro has to admit he tweaked the fights because he isn't cool with seeing ladies get eliminated. After whooping their sorry asses, GoPro snacks on the losers and gains a boatload more abilities. Then he drops the bomb on the survivors. They're now his prisoners. These fools thought they'd be set free, but GoPro reminds them that they tried to take out the goblins. Gobji thinks it'll be a blast having the elf prisoners, but GoPro reminds him there are rules about getting touchy with prisoners. Gobji swears he'll follow his leader's orders but still begs because he's desperate as hell, so GoPro goes ahead and dishes out the final punishment to the leader of the elven crew. On day 48, we see Gobukichi reaching level 100. Day 49 rolls around and everyone's jaws drop when they see Gobukichi evolve into some special variant. The dude's rocking a dark red color thanks to a blessing from the demigod of flame, and his iron heart skin is a gift from the demigod of war. Gobukichi explains that GoPro hasn't had anybody to spar with since he became an ogre, and Gobukichi was worried he'd never catch up. But now Gobukichi's different, so they throw down outside. GoPro still schools Gobukichi in the fight, but damn, Gobukichi holds his own surprisingly well. GoPro comes out on top in the end, but the battle shows him that Gobukichi is truly his rival. That night, GoPro's Hela is exhausted when he's approached by some strange figure. This thing starts apologizing for some reason and hands GoPro a gift, saying it's the least it can do. GoPro wakes up the next day, totally clueless about what went down. Day 51 hits, and GoPro wonders if Gobukichi inspired the others because they got 4 new hobgoblins in the crew. One of them even got the skills to be a mage, and another's going to be a cleric. This cleric dude's named Gabji, and he swears to heal as many peeps as possible. Say's evolved too, stepping up into the Lord family as a half Spell Lord. Spell Lords isn't usually got the same markings she's got on her arms, and GoPro notices they look like his own. Say's bursting with mana, so she wants to test her strength outside. She unleashes a sick fire attack to show off her power and says she's got at least 20 more of those in her. That shit's pretty damn impressive, but what's even more surprising is she's only a half Spell Lord for now. Next time, she's likely going to evolve into a full Spell Lord. GoPro hooks her up with some fresh gear to match her evolution, and she tells the jealous Hubsato she'll catch up real soon. GoPro realizes evolutions have been going down pretty often, and he's suspecting he's the reason why. A goblin's early environment has a major impact on how fast they grow. It's pretty damn awesome seeing everyone getting stronger. But GoPro got to admit not everyone in the village has been so lucky. On day 52, the older generation of goblins isn't feeling it anymore. They've been trying their best to keep up, but all these young goblins are leaving them in the dust. So, they decide to dip from the village, and they are straight up shocked when GoPro isn't going to off them for betraying him. GoPro explains they aren't stealing, so it's their call if they want to bounce. What's even more mind-blowing is that GoPro gives them a parting gift, a badass magical knife made of metal with a wicked sharp edge. On day 53, rolls around and GoPro comes across a human who got his life snatched by an orc. The dude's got no hope left, but after GoPro chows down on him, he discovers a crazy interesting ability. He hopes he can use it to honor the guy. This ability is called Monster Tamer. That night, GoPro's happier than ever because the alchemist drops the bomb that she whipped up some booze. On day 54, GoPro announces that the old-school goblins bailed on the village, and he gives anyone else the option to join them. But isn't nobody else wants to leave, so they raise a glass. On day 55, Genius GoPro gets to work making earrings infused with his blood so they can double as communication devices. On day 56, GoPro finds out they work like a charm, so he makes enough for everyone. On day 57, Gobmi takes down a Trihorn, and GoPro tests out the Monster Tamer ability he got from the human. Works flawlessly, and the Trihorn becomes their first familiar. On day 58, we learn GoPro's got himself a sick familiar too. The alpha of a black wolf pack becomes his pet and bodyguard for the human ladies. On day 59, GoPro gets hit with a mind-blowing shock. That weak redhead girl has grown into a warrior. While they chow down, GoPro gets caught off guard when she lands herself a new job. Moments later, she shows off her hunting skills, and GoPro explains her new job as a shadow soldier. Now she has to chow down on monsters periodically or she'll kick the bucket. But that leads to some insane growth. Later, GoPro gets word that humans have been attacking goblins in the forest, so he realizes the war between them and the humans is about to go down real soon. On day 60, GoPro senses some kobolds getting chased by some crazy shit that even his search ability can't detect. When the kobolds make it to the cave, they find out they're being chased by some magically animated skeletons. Gobmi's archers try to shoot them down, but their arrows aren't doing jack. There's a ton of skeletons, and Gobukichi knows things about to go bad. GoPro's search ability lets him see one big-ass signal behind all them skeletons, probably the thing that's creating them. The others start fighting off the skeletons, and Hubsato attacks, which makes GoPro realize something. Slicing the skeletons doesn't work for shit, but smashing them to bits is hella effective. They all drop their weapons and start bashing their opponents to pieces. But there are still way too many of them, so GoPro knows he has to end this battle. He starts a countdown in his head as he marches through the skeleton army. He finishes 3 seconds early, but he manages to crush the monster that's creating all the skeletons. Eating that thing gives him the power to summon lower undead and materialize high-tier equipment, among other things. Afterward, the kobolds apologize for their screw-up. Turns out they accidentally dug into Velvet's stash, the same place the goblins raided before, and they woke up the Guardian, the skeleton, in a desperate attempt to survive. They hauled ass to GoPro's cave because he's known as the Black Ogre. Now these kobolds are calling GoPro their lord, but GoPro reminds them he's wiped out plenty of their kind. Still, they're mad grateful he saved their asses, and they get that the strong devouring the weak is just how things go. They owe their lives to him, so they declare that whatever happens next is all up to GoPro. GoPro gets it and has their wounds checked by their cleric. Then he takes a look around at everyone in his cave. He's clueless about how it all went down, but he's gathered one hell of an interesting crew. On day 61, GoPro goes on a mission with Gobikichi, and they spot 12 armed human soldiers. They start tailing them, and GoPro uses his superpower to listen in on their conversation. Turns out, these humans are planning to snatch the elves' chief's daughter. To make matters worse, one of the elves snitches and lets them know that the girl will be returning from a festival. So, the humans launch their attack, taking out a bunch of her guards and snatching her up. GoPro isn't about to let that slide, so he swoops in, rescues the girl, and captures one of the human scumbags. Fast forward to day 62, and he finds out the human army is going to make their move in 20 days. In a bold move, GoPro chows down on all 12 of those humans and gains a boatload of new powers. When the elven girl wakes up, she's scared shitless of GoPro, but he notices she's got wings, which isn't a common thing for elves. GoPro tries to calm her down, but she loses it, thinking he's going to do some messed up shit to her. After sipping some calming tea, she chills out a bit. But when GoPro spills the beans that he couldn't save her guards, she flips and blames him for just watching them get attacked. He sets her straight, though saying it isn't his business to meddle in the human-elf war. He drops the bomb that there's a traitor among the elves, so she better be more pissed about that. She starts bawling her eyes out, so GoPro tells her to get some rest before they take her home. That night, he's got to remind the old dude to keep his mitts off her. Come day 63, they escort the elf back to her village. She spills the beans that only high elves have wings, but they usually keep them hidden inside. They aren't meant to be shown to others, but she's still learning the ropes, so they pop out now and then. When they reach the elf village, GoPro senses 25 archers aiming at him with some mythical arrowheads. The chief's daughter lets them know that the ogre saved her life. The chief shows gratitude for saving his daughter, but GoPro makes it clear he isn't doing it out of the goodness of his heart. He wants a damn reward and figures this is the chief's chance to show some appreciation. The reward he gets is this thing called a failure knot, some magical family heirloom. The daughter is shocked he's giving it away, but the chief explains it's a small price to pay for her safety. GoPro's satisfied with that, so in return, he offers to give the elves info about the human army's movements. Now the two groups are all buddy-buddy, and the elves hook up the goblins with a load of kick mithril gear. The chief wonders if they know anything about their elite fighters who've gone missing. But GoPro acts dumb and claims he's got zero info on that. The chief hooks GoPro up with some bomb-ass booze as a gift, so GoPro promises to have their backs whenever they need it. That night, GoPro is straight up mind blown by how damn tasty their alcohol is. Fast forward to day 64, and GoPro is straight up shaken to see that Gobmi has ranked up into a damp variant, and on top of that, they got 8 fresh hobgoblins rolling with them. Gobmi's got some sick new powers too. She can create and control large amounts of ice with her ice powers, and her evil eye can turn enemies against each other, making them fight among themselves. GoPro feels like he recognizes her face, but he can't quite put his finger on why. Even Sei has evolved and leveled up to a half-Earth Lord. Earth Lords can manipulate the freaking ground and make their bodies hella strong. Plus, Sei can use lightning magic to find gems. And Hubsato. She's evolved into a bloody lord. These peeps can control blood and shape it into weapons. Oh, and all these evolved goblins got tattoos in different spots for some reason. They claim the tattoos give them power, so GoPro's eager to learn more about that shit. Because of all these evolutions going down, Gobji decides to give them all new names. Then they bust out this chart ranking races by power. Turns out, the ogre are 5th on the list, right after the Dampiers and the lords. Ogre knows damn well the elves are going to turn to them for help in their war against the humans. So, he's dead set on gathering as many assets as possible and handing out communication earrings to the new crew. The elven girls they got captive didn't want to rock them, because it's hella taboo for elves to mess with their ears. But Ogre worked his charm and convinced them to give it a shot. Then he had the new crew join them for training. He even busted out his summon lower undead ability, bringing in skeletons for some hands-on sparring. Ogre hooked them up with armor too, because the more armor a skeleton has, the better it tends to be. The elves struggled and got their asses kicked in most of the matches, but Ogre was still stoked because the crew was building trust. Come day 65, Ogre learns that if he uses less mana, He can create regular skeletons, zombies, and other undead beings. He even wonders what they taste like, but turns out he can't chow down on them. They're dope for practice though and gaining experience. They disintegrate in seconds when daylight hits, though so not being able to use them during the day sucks. Ogre's crew is now over 100 deep. The kobolds are holding a low position on the power chart, so they have to hustle harder than anyone else. After a brawl, Ogre's getting worried that Gafu might be chowing down on too much funky ass meat, but Gafu thinks that shit's the bomb. On day 66, Ogre rolls up to Earth's place and shuts down the exit to the cave where their skeletons keep popping out. He tells the kobolds to go on a hunt and bring back more wolf familiars. The kobolds hustle harder than expected and manage to snag 20 wolves. On their way back, they run into a badass boar, but Earth straight up wrecks it. Later, the smithy girl drops the bomb that she upgraded the axe Ogre messed up when he was fighting the red bear. She pimped that shit out with a mix of spirit stone alloy iron and mithril. Ogre's Hela is impressed, and the smithy girl reveals she leveled up and became an elemental smith. On day 67, Ogre Kitchi spills the beans that he's been crushing on Earth all along. Surprisingly, Ogre already knew, so Ogre Kitchi spills about needing advice on what to do. Ogre comes through with a plan for his homie. He wants Ogre Kitchi to make a move that night and hopes for good news in the morning. So, that night Ogre Kitchi lays his feelings out for Earthy, and she seems cool with it. The next morning Ogre Kitchi feels like he's walking on freaking clouds and stronger than ever. During a spar with Ogre, Ogre Kitchi manages to land more hits than usual, and Ogre's stoked that thing went well for his boy. Turns out, Earth talked to Dombi about it the day before, so Ogre and Dombi set up the perfect scene for them. Ogre Kitchi's been so damn powerful and full of energy that Ogre had to switch himself out with the black skeleton in their spar. After training, Ogre and the usual crew go on a hunt. They come across a bunch of bug monsters they've never seen before, and Ogre gains some sick new abilities. The dopes one is called an exoskeleton. Ogre slips that bad boy on and is straight up shocked to find himself transforming like them superheroes. This new exoskeleton is crazy durable. It repairs itself and absorbs impacts like a boss. It's a bit too flashy for Ogre's taste, but Dombi thinks it looks sick. Ogre tries to change back to his old gear, but he ends up butt naked. Turns out, his regular clothes were used to make the exoskeleton. It's a shame because he was digging his outfit made from the red bear's pelt, but then, Ogre discovers that this exoskeleton ability is even more badass because he can switch between 5 different forms. One of them uses the red bear, so he can register 4 other forms. After some thinking, Ogre decides he wants forms for air and sea battles. So, to start he registers 1 form from the insects, so he can sprout wings and fly. It's pretty difficult to control, though, so he would need some practice. It's raining pretty hard on day 69, so the redhead wants Ogre to spar with her. She has been making steady progress, so she has been asking for more training lately. Ogre then thinks about how she used to seem like a puppy before, but now she seems more like a grown Doberman. Now, onto the smith girl. She's been meeting up with them elves on the Reg, brainstorming ideas for new weapons. She's working on a repeating crossbow, and Ak has been going so well that Ogre asks her to start manufacturing them. Ogre hooks her up with more materials and hopes she can whip up a fresh weapon for him. The chef sisters got a new title too. They're now the head chefs. Ogre had them trying to recreate dishes from his past life, like freaking potato chips. After that, Ogre has a meeting with the alchemist about making magical items. She shows him this item she made from the black skeleton bones. It's a bone nail that freezes anyone it strikes. The other girls catch Ogre hugging up on the alchemist, but he isn't spilling the deeds on what goes down next. Day 70 rolls around, and some elves show up, representing the chief elf. These elves passed by their old crew on the way in, but Ogre's earrings had some disguise effect going on, making them look like dark elves. The elven kid spills the beans that the humans are making moves. The elves can't handle them solo, so they need Ogre's help. Price isn't an issue for them because the chief just wants the enemy wiped out. But here's the deal, if Ogre pulls out, the contract's null and void. Ogre takes the damn job, but he lays down the law. He tells the kid to give the elven chief a bracelet so they can stay in touch. Info is a powerful weapon, and Ogre already got his blood homies scattered in the woods for recon. Ogre gathers everyone up and announces it's time to put all their hard work to use. From this day forward, they're a freaking mercenary company. They're a legit squad of badass fighters, and everyone's digging the idea. Ogre decides to call them the Parabellum Mercenary Company. He tells them all to get ready for battle because their first job is about to go down, and they all start chanting Parabellum. On day 71, Ogre's Parabellum crew kicks off their first job. They got a total of 36 members, and with spells Wicked Sorcery, their familiars can join them, making it a total of 73. They head out early in the morning, acting on intel from one of Ogre's little minions. There's this damn barrier around the human army base, but Ogre uses his silver arm superpower to smash that shit. Once the barrier's down, Earthy takes charge and uses her earth-controlling superpower to block off all the escape routes for the humans. Then Dami and his spell-casting skills unleash a coordinated magical beatdown. Ogre summons a freaking army of skeletons and throws in some spears for good measure. But damn, even with all that firepower, it isn't enough to wipe out those pesky humans. Turns out, this badass Lady Knight is leading their defense, so Ogre decides to introduce himself with a roar. The humans figure out that the wicked black ogre is controlling the undead, so the Lady Knight declares they're going to take him down together. The human mage starts the attack, and Ogre's impressed when the Lady Knight amps up her speed. He gives her props for assessing the situation and compliments the dude. As she plans to rip out his heart, Ogre has to admit, it's a solid strategy. But it's still not enough because Ogre just pushes her back. Then he announces that he likes what he sees, so they're all going to become his prisoners. But the Lady Knight isn't having any of that, she just wants to end his miserable life. Ogre thinks she's pretty badass for that, but she says if he wants her as his prisoner, he's got to prove his strength. If she loses, then he can do whatever the hell he wants. Ogre tells his crew to take out everyone except the Lady Knight, the sorcerer, the priestess, and the flaming swordswoman. Those four got to be captured alive, but the rest can be wiped out and eaten. Then Ogre spills the beans on what went down next. It was a freaking one-sided massacre. Dami's wicked charmed evil eyes made a bunch of human soldiers fight each other over her, and Ogre Kichi straight up overpowered the others. Blood Sato used her badass ability to turn blood into weapons, and Earthy finished them off with her powers. In the end, they managed to wipe out the enemy without losing a single one of their own. But the Lady Knight did get close enough to Ogre once. Her attack didn't do much damage, but just getting to him was damn impressive. Right then, the human mage gears up for a big attack and begs the Lady Knight to get the hell out of there. Spell's got a hunch that the mage's attack is a freaking 5-level spell, and she was scared that Ogre might not be able to handle it. And to make matters worse, the Lady Knight's sacrificing herself to make sure Ogre gets hit by that magic attack. The human mage says sorry, but he can't hold back any longer, and he lets it loose. Ogre isn't about letting the Lady Knight bite the dust, so he declares himself the winner. The Lady Knight's mind is blown when she sees Ogre pull off some sick magic skills and create a badass shield. Spell's tripping too because this shield required Ogre to combine some 3rd level death magic, a vacuum shield from his silver arm, and a bunch of other abilities. Ogre had to go all out, but he managed to block that dragon spell attack. It's a total victory for Ogre's crew, and he's all like, capturing all these badass fighters is a freaking big deal. So, they have a wild feast, and Ogre gains a shit ton of new abilities. The elves go crazy celebrating the win. Ogre goes to check on the new prisoners, but damn, they aren't doing too hot. On day 72, Ogre spills the beans that with his earrings in place. Those puny humans can't lie or hide shit anymore. They spilled a ton of information. The elder elf requested this information and offered to pay in alcohol, so of course Ogre accepted. Using the item Ogre sent him, Ogre was able to pass on the information he received from the prisoners. It included the secret routes the humans were planning to use to ambush them next. Turns out, those humans were planning to overwhelm the elves from all sides with their massive numbers. But thanks to that info, Ogre's crew found a way around, set up some traps, and waited in a freaking trench. The human troops were led by these fully armored knights, 500 of them. And on top of that, there were 100 wizards. Ogre knew it'd be a long and tough battle if they fought them head-on. But for Ogre and his crew, it was just targeting practice. Ogre kicked off the attack. His crew blocked off escape routes and dropped boulders on those fools. The knights went from 500 strong to just 300 in no time. Pit traps and arrows kept taking them down, till there were less than 100 knights left. Now here's where it gets interesting. Ogre was impressed when the leader of the knights told his troops to build a freaking wall with anything they could find. That turned the fight into a stalemate. So Ogre sent Ogre Kichi to take on their commander. Of course, the humans fought back, but Ogre sent in enough warriors to make sure every knight got wiped out. The only thing Ogre's wondering is if Ogre Kichi can control himself. Ogre Kichi starts wrecking the commander, and the dude can see that Ogre Kichi's off the freaking charts. Ogre gives props to the commander for putting up a good fight, but in the end, Ogre Kichi comes out on top, just like last time. Another feast goes down, and Ogre racks up a bunch more abilities. Ogre Kichi mentions that the commander reminded him of Ogre, but Ogre isn't seeing it. And out of nowhere, Dami shows up and drops the bomb that she wants to have Ogre's kid. On day 74, the night prisoners think being taken alive is more embarrassing than dying. Their commander tries to calm them down, saying they got food and a place to crash, so it isn't all that bad. The knights point out that he is from a commoner background, so he wouldn't understand, and this whole prisoner thing is a disgrace to nobles like them. Later on, Ogre has the commander spill the beans on why the humans are attacking the elves. Turns out, it all started because some princess got hit with a rare, almost deadly disease. She's supposed to marry a king from another empire, so he orders them to find a cure. These humans found out about the elves' secret medicine, blessed by some forest demigod. So yeah, this whole war is just about human greed. Then, Earthy gets shaken when something goes down during a mining sesh. Everybody's wondering if they're being attacked, but turns out the water created a freaking hot spring. Ogre's all hyped and tells everyone it boosts their healing powers and gets rid of any nasty conditions. Plus, it's a balm for the skin. So, everyone gets to enjoy the perks of their new bath, and Ogre gives props to Earthy for digging it up. On day 75, Ogre starts thinking about a new training plan, using the human prisoners. The idea is to have others work on their leadership skills by running a fake-ass battle with real soldiers. They have to give orders to their crew, all decked out in gear, and if they can beat the leader of the opposing crew, they win. Ogre stands on the sidelines, playing judge. For example, Spell takes charge of the defense troops, and Dami handles the archers. Dami and Spell are looking pretty solid in the leadership department, but Ogre Kichi and Blood Sato are clueless. They aren't even aware the humans are watching. And goblin dudes trying to pull off military moves don't make any damn sense. The commander straight up says he's tired of messing around and wants a face-off with Ogre. Ogre's impressed by the dude's guts. Even though all his comrades keep losing, this guy still wants a piece of Ogre. So Ogre starts respecting him and calls him the Steel Knight. The dude gets shocked when Ogre hits him up with some mana magic. Ogre explains he has to even the playing field a bit, or else he'd crush him. Ogre unleashes some of his power, and the knight gets all pumped up. It's clear he's ready to throw down. Ogre goes at him, but let's be real, the dude never stood a chance because Ogre straight up annihilates him. Ogre patches him up, and Ogre Kichi jumps in, saying he wants a piece of the Steel Knight too. As Ogre watches them throw down, he can tell that Ogre Kichi's feeling the same energy as the Steel Knight. Later, the dude explains that he comes from a place with all sorts of demi-humans, so it's easier for him to connect with them. The Steel Knight notices the diverse crew Ogre has gathered and sees how well he's organized them. He even starts thinking if Ogre was sent by some divine force. The guy decides to quit being a knight and pledges to fight for Ogre. Ogre accepts so he isn't a prisoner anymore, and he plans to put the dude's skills to good use. He makes the redhead his apprentice and tells him to teach her some unique human combat techniques. Later, the Elven Elder agrees to take care of the wounded humans. Ogre wants to know about the secret medicine the humans were after, and the Elder spills that it's the same medicine he gave Ogre earlier. This medicine is a big freaking deal. It can cure just about any illness. Ogre can't believe the old elf gave him something so valuable. But the Elder explains it's only off-limits to humans, not to the ogre who saved his daughter. Ogre decides to take the medicine for the first time, and it gives him a strange feeling. Plus, he gains a bunch of weird healing abilities. Ogre gives one of the injured humans a drop of his blood, and the dude's mind is blown. His injuries are healed, and his back pain is gone too. Ogre's just as shocked because he's realizing this ability-gaining stuff is getting seriously crazy. He healed this guy up with just one drop of blood, so he started wondering what would happen with more. This kind of power is on a whole other level, so Ogre thinks he might have leveled up into some straight-up insane territory. On day 81, Ogre's crew is getting ready for their third showdown with the human army. Ogre straight up snipes a dude with a spear from 300 meters away and then busts out his mad skill of producing an endless supply of spears. The battle's over in a freaking quick 20 minutes after that sick shot. Ogre then uses his slime to clean up all the dead bodies. It isn't a pretty sight, but everyone agrees that Blood Sato is a bit messed up because she seems to be enjoying it. The next day, the elves are whispering to each other because Ogre brought some humans to see the elder. Ogre tells the humans that the elder is nicer than the other elves, and turns out he's right because the elder serves them drinks and grub. The elder's stoked that Ogre's kicking the human army's ass, but he isn't looking to drag the fight on. That's why he wants to send his best troops to the next battle and end the war once and for all. The elder's paying Ogre, so Ogre's cool with it. On the way back to the village, the Lady Knight tells Ogre she's fully devoted to him and wants permission to do her knight duty for the kingdom. She asks if he'd send some secret elvish medicine to cure the princess. Ogre thinks about how having the kingdom owe him a favor could be pretty sweet. But there's a catch. There are 5 gods worshipped in this world, and they're crazy powerful. They cause a ton of religious conflicts. Ogre's got the blessing of the god of demise and origin, so if a dude like him provides the medicine, it could stir up even more trouble. But he's got an idea and tells the knight he'll think about it. Day 83 is the final battle. The human soldiers numbered 2,000, including the elves who joined them. Ogre's crew is 650 deep. This isn't going to be like the previous battles because they'll straight up lose if they rush in. One of Ogre's blood minis learned some intel the day before. The humans got this elite squad of 8 badass warriors called the Rugal Orden. These dudes are the ultimate fighting force because all of them got blessed by the gods. They're strong on their own, and they boost the power of their allies. The more homies fighting with them, the deadlier they become. Ogre isn't even sweating when he hears about them, though he just wonders what they taste like. It's battle time, so Ogre summons his skeletons. Dami isn't sure it's a smart move because the sun's coming up soon, but Ogre explains he made some changes to the skeletons. He tells Ogre Kitch's crew to hold down the perimeter because he's taken his skeletons straight to the center. Ogre kicks off the battle, and the humans are straight up shocked by the sheer number of skeletons. They know they have to wait for the sun to rise, and eventually it does. They're relieved because they think the skeletons will disappear, but they're in for a real shock when those skeletons don't fade away. Turns out Ogre coated their skeletons in slime so they could throw down during the day. The skeletons doing a solid job, but Ogre sends them to help the others while he powers up for a crazy attack. Ogre's thinking about how the whole army is going to crumble once he wipes out the troops at the center. Nearby, one of them braves making his move. But he is not too thrilled about being part of this lame-ass war. He thinks their troops just have to fight harder, but they tell him they are not as strong as him. This brave dude, Ares, spots Ogre powering up and realizes this battle might be interesting. The troops are straight up shocked watching Ogre gather up water and blood, unleashing his attack and wrecking everyone. Fighting got Ogre feeling hungry, so he starts chowing down, but then this casual kid steps up and wants to throw down next. Ogre heard about this kid and knows his name's Filippo, the bone bug brave. Filippo doesn't like it when someone he doesn't respect calls him by his title, so he gets pissed. This kid has some wild eyes, making Ogre realizes he is blessed by the god of demonic insects. The kids are ticked off at Ogre because he's the reason his vacation got ruined. Ogre can see this kid acting like a spoiled brat, but he can sense the power radiating from him, showing he can fight. Filippo can tell Ogre got a blessing too, so he wants to know which one it is, but Ogre keeps his mouth shut. Right then, Filippo reveals he has bugs that combine his blessing with necromancy. He tosses them bugs everywhere, explaining how he can make corpses move around. They are not zombies, though, because they can move even in the freaking sun. Ogre figures them bugs must be some kind of parasitic bioweapon. Then Filippo starts preaching about the big diff between braves and heroes. Heroes are way stronger on their own, and the fighters they boost also get a major power-up. But heroes can only boost up to 10 peeps. Braves, on the other hand, can boost hundreds. Right then, Ogre gets his mind blown when Filippo transforms their corpses into monsters. Filippo got them monsters attacking, but Ogre wasted no time tearing them apart. Filippo's impressed, saying Ogre's smashing them like they are not nothing, so he decides to take direct control of their monsters. The fight is getting tougher, and now Filippo's impressed by how quickly Ogre can heal. Filippo is getting ready to unleash something that Ogre can't recover from, so he summons this giant centipede. That thing straight up crushes Ogre, and the kid tells him it's his favorite pet. This bug is hella famous because it's been classified as a freaking natural disaster. It's mad dangerous because its venom can straight up kill or paralyze organs with just a tiny exposure. The kid is amazed, though, because Ogre somehow survived for this long. Ogre's crew getting worried because that venom's starting to take effect. No one can help because they are surrounded by enemies. Filippo praises his pet as it drags Ogre's lifeless body to him, and he sends it off to finish its other job. Filippo thinks the fight is over now, so he planning on cutting up Ogre's body to figure out his blessings. He looking for someone to help move the body, but he is straight up shocked when Ogre disappears. Then, Filippo barely dodges an attack from Ogre, and he wonders how the hell he survived. Ogre isn't explaining, so the kid figuring he used a fake corpse or something. Filippo's pet is already far away, so he thinks it's time to bust out his first secret weapon. He wants them to introduce themselves properly first, but Ogre isn't ready to reveal who he is just yet. Filippo just introduces himself and says he ranked 7th in the whole damn country. Ogre cuts off his little intro with an attack, but the kid transforms and pushes him back. Filippo gets all upset because Ogre made him use his second secret weapon before he even finished with the first. The kid then goes through a complete transformation, but that just makes him look even tastier to Ogre. Because Ogre thinks a good meal takes some real effort. They start throwing down, and Filippo's shocked because Ogre dodging his attacks and fighting back. That's some next level stuff to him because Ogre hasn't even gone through some epic awakening. Ogre isn't got a damn clue what that is, and Filippo isn't telling because Ogre isn't cooperating. But that's cool with Ogre because he knows he can make the kid talk. Ogre explains he got his bug transformation, but Filippo doesn't believe him. So Ogre uses his exoskeleton power to transform, and Filippo is amazed at how this dude always has something up his sleeve. Ogre meets Filippo in the sky for the fight, sending the kid crashing down to the ground. Ogre's crew finished up, clearing out the area, but Dombey got a really bad feeling about something nearby. Filippo says he had a lot of fun, but it's time to end it. Ogre isn't letting him get away, but the kid's saying it isn't his call to make. He dips and declares he is a damn speedy runner. Ogre is chasing after him, but he pauses to take out that moving carcass that isn't controlled by Filippo. The kid manages to escape, but Ogre swears he's going to eat him one day. Dombey rolls up, relieved to see Ogre all good, and he explains how he sent a replica he made on a little mission while he was scrapping with Filippo. He gave it a stealth ability, so it sneaks up on someone and tells them not to budge an inch. The person it talks to is the next king of the country and the current commander of their royal armed forces. The replicant tells him they aren't looking to keep the war going. The commander is wondering who the hell he is, but the replicant just tells him to check his armor. The commander is straight up shocked when the replicant spills that the vial has some secret elvish medicine that'll cure the princess. The replicant is coldly pointing out that their troops can stop sacrificing their lives for nothing now. Back with Ogre, he knew he could easily take out the future king, but he also knew that would bring the kingdom's full force down to wipe out the elves. He decided against it to avoid a full-blown war. Ogre then gets Earthy to set up a defensive wall so they can get their injured peeps to safety. Nearby, some humans are shaking in their boots when they run into Ogre, but he tells them to keep moving. The battle is done and isn't nobody else has to lose their lives. He starts thinking about the more important stuff that needs handling. That night, we find out that 30 Parabella members lost their lives in the fight. It's a really sad moment because they have to be laid to rest properly. In this world, there is a risk of the dead coming back as zombies or ghosts, so they have to be cremated. The others get all emotional as they offer prayers to the brave warriors who fought hard to the bitter end. Everyone reacts in their own way, but Ogre doesn't feel particularly sad. However, he does feel the need to hold on to life as tight as he can because they can't do more. On day 84, we learned that the recent crazy-ass battle got everyone some sick experience, and that led to a bunch of new evolutions in Ogre's crew. Hobgoblin was all about that healing shit and evolved into a freaking half-Saint Lord. Now he's got this badass ability called Shellfield, which can take 20 hits from Ogre and still stand strong. Hobfu turned into a ghoul because she's all about that spoiled food life. She's been munching on nothing but zombies, and you know what they say, you are what you eat. She's all hyped up talking about the guys, and Ogro's worried about what's going on in her twisted mind. Suddenly, Ogro freaks out because Hobmi's got these creepy-ass eyes, so he tells her to keep them shut. She was never good at straight-up fighting, but now she's a Dodomki. This race that's all about kick-ass combat support with illusion magic. She's got some dope abilities, and Ogro's damn sure she's going to outperform his ass when it comes to gathering intel. Shit's going so damn well that even some of their weaker-ass hobgoblins ranked up to become ogres. These dudes are swearing to get stronger, honoring their fallen comrades from the battle. Ogro's got his jaw on the floor because goblins are usually all about themselves. But these dudes are straight up mourning their dead buddies, and using it as motivation. Even the leader of the kobolds leveled up, and became a warrior kobold. This dude claims he has a badass look just like Ogro. But Ogro thinks he looks more like a mafia boss who just got into cosplay. The dude even got a true name and goes by Tsuji now. Old man Gobjai explains that true names are some special shit given to folks of a certain level. If some enemy learns your true name, they can cast some nasty spells and curses on you. Telling others your true name is a terrible idea. It's like straight up killing yourself. But this kobold leader decided to share his true name with Ogro as a sign of his loyalty. So Ogro decides to call him Akita from now on. Ogro's thinking about what to do with their prisoners, and he decides to set them free. Anybody who hasn't got anywhere else to go can join Ogro's crew temporarily. Some of the prisoners get all pissed off because they think they're better than the rest. But being a provisional member means they're lower than a damn goblin. An argument breaks out because the goblins get insulted by that shit. Ogro admits the 3 prisoners are stronger than goblins, but he trusts the goblins who've been training with him since birth more than some randoms who just showed up recently. Ogro straight up tells those 3 fools they can bounce if they want, but they aren't having any of that. They want to prove themselves by taking on the leader of the mercenary crew and snatching control of it. These idiots thought Dombi was the boss, and they find it hilarious that Ogro, a big-ass ogre, is calling the shots. Ogro got to calm Dombi's ass down, and he agrees to play along with these clowns. Ogro wants to take on 2 of them at once, and they call him cocky for it. Then everyone's jaws drop as these dudes flex their weapons. And that creepy pervert Gobjai shows up, all excited to watch the fight with his pervy hand. He starts talking about how they're using orb weapons, and some other peeps in the crew might be able to use them too. Orb weapons give them a major power boost and fix themselves when they get messed up. Ogro straight up wipes out the attackers, beating down anyone else who tries to step up. Just when everyone's thinking it's all good, Ogro gets smacked back. This dude who looks like he's straight out of an action movie claims he's the new leader, but Ogro sends his ass flying. Ogro explains that the dude did a decent job sneaking up on him, so he let him land his hit. Only the half-damper dude is left, but he's nowhere to be seen. Eventually, Ogro finds the dude confessing his love to Dombi. Ogro beats his sorry ass to a pulp, thinking about how this fool trying to hit on Dombi right in front of him deserves an even worse beatdown. There are some other badass races among the provisional members, but they're grateful as hell to be freed from slavery. Ogro gives the damper dude some of his blood to heal him up, but that just makes the guy pledge his damn loyalty, making things awkward as hell. By the end of it all, Ogro's crew ends up with 50 more provisional members. The provisional members start sparring against Ogro's undead crew, and we find out Ogro put Ogre Kichi in charge of training them. But that isn't all, because Ogro found some new smiths to work with the smith girl. The little dudes point out she's got a long way to go, but they see potential in her. The smith girl isn't too fond of them, but dwarven smithing is top tier in this world. They might even be able to craft mithril gear, so Ogro asks the smith girl to give it a shot. Ogro recently learned this ability called synthesis. He does some experiment with an orb, and damn, it works like magic. Then he tries to use Chaos of the Dead to make a monster, but that thing goes rogue and starts causing chaos, so he's got to destroy it. He uses synthesis again to whip up some new abilities. He combines weakness to sunlight and weakness to light damage to create weakness to sunlight damage, but he regrets that shit. On day 85, they start renovating their base. They give top priority to the hot springs because they want to offer it as a service to their elven allies. On day 86, Ogre used the provisional crew to test out his synthesized abilities. He figured it'd be better to avoid any accidental deaths, but damn, he might have gone overboard. On day 87, the dwarf smiths hook Ogro up with their finest work, a badass warhammer, but Ogro couldn't quite grasp their explanation of what made it so special. Changed a lot since Agu was born. Now he's got to keep his presence low-key when he strolls through the woods because all the creatures book it when they see him. Ogro links up with the Dryad again to pick up something, but the other spirits warn him that he'll pay a hefty price if he's up to no good. On day 88, Ogro announces they're going to start planting some crops. Turns out the Dryad hooked him up with a bunch of magical seeds for fruits and veggies. These babies grow faster, taste better, and pack more nutrition than the regular kind. On day 89 rolls around, and some of the provisional recruits bounce back home. Even some high and mighty prisoners make their way back, but not before Dombey brainwashes them. Now they had spies gathering intel from within the kingdom and the empire. The human army starts pulling out, and the elf elder thanks Ogro for his help. They throw a huge feast to celebrate, but Ogro wonders if it was a smart move to invite him. The elder admits their rules say they should shun outsiders, but Ogro and his crew are their true homies. The elder spills the beans about his little bro breaking their code and leaving the forest ages ago, searching for a connection to the outside world. The elder just wanted to make sure their forest would be a haven for his bro to come back to, and Ogro made that possible. The shit gets emotional, and the party keeps going. When they get back to their base, Earthy digs up the last of the spirit stones as a thank you to Velvet and the Carbuncle. Ogro decides to chow down on this final batch of spirit stones, and you bet your ass, that gives him a whole bunch of kick-ass abilities. After that, Ogro gets down to some serious crafting. He takes the bones of their black skeletons and fuses them together, throwing in some replicant material to keep that sunlight away. This bad boy he calls a skeleton centipede, and he plans to use it as a whip ride to take the human girls to a human town. The girls start freaking out, thinking they're getting kicked out, but Ogro reminds them that he made a promise to return them home when they first met. Even if they decide to stay, he wants them to head back first before making a final call. On day 91, they finish constructing the upgraded hot spring. The knight notices the redhead girl's mind isn't in the game during training, and she admits she's worried about having to go back to a human town. The knight isn't getting involved in that mess, but he reassures her that Ogro isn't in a hurry to get rid of her. On day 92 comes around and the girls gather some stuff to sell in town. That's when Ogro realizes having these girls around, sharing their knowledge and filling in his gaps, is a damn blessing. On day 93, they throw a party to help everyone get acquainted. Them three obnoxious drunks from before actin' all rowdy, talking about doing whatever they please when Ogro heads to town, but they drop a piece of info both the kingdom and the empire look down on demi-humans. They'll need someone from a noble family to get them in. The obnoxious red dude offers to help, but Ogro shuts that down. On day 94, Ogro splits everyone into 4 groups. They got to gather intel on the outside world, handle their problems, and level up. But most importantly, Ogro wants them to stay alive and not kick the bucket. On day 95, everyone gets ready to head out. Each one shows off their quirks and personalities. Ogro tells Ogrekichi not to wander off alone. And with that, the group set off. Ogro thinks about how much he's learned living in the forest, but he knows he has to keep moving forward, because there's still plenty of powerful prey out there, just waiting for him to devour them. On day 102, Ogro and his crew finally roll into Trient. Although the city's known for being chill with demihumans, seeing a sketchy Ogro cruisin' in his skeleton edition Lamborghini sends the guards into an instant panic. They all gear up for battle. The girls quickly explain everything to the guards, clearing up the misunderstanding so that Ogro can keep his business rolling and even rent an inn. Once everything's settled, he gathers all the human girls for a serious talk. While in town, he tells them to use this time to decide if they really want to live here or bounce. He'll respect whatever they choose, even though he secretly wishes they'd stick with him forever. After all, the only reason they're here is because they were kidnapped and locked up by the previous Goblin generation. Later, the rest of the day finds the other girls selling the goods they brought to the city, while Redhead shows Ogro the guild building so he can register. Naturally, people initially freak out at the sight of an Ogro like him, so he knocks them all out to keep the trouble away. Unfortunately, when he tries to register Parabellum as an official mercenary group, the clerk passes out from shock. With the usual reception down, an old guy behind the counter tells Ogro he's got to fill out the adventurer registration form if he wants to be officially recognized as a mercenary group. After that's done, everyone decides to go clothes shopping, but Ogro's got other plans. He disguises himself as his human form from his past life to blend in while he gathers intel. The others are shocked he can transform on the fly, but since he's always full of surprises, they just roll with it. After grabbing a bite, Ogro strolls down a dark alley and gets cornered by 6 thieves. For most, that'd mean getting jumped, but for Ogro it's just a chance to have some dessert. After taking care of the thieves, he picks up a ton of new criminal skills, and he finds it kinda strange that all 6 were wearing rings with the same pattern, so he figures they must be part of some big organization. Not really wanting to get involved, he plans to bounce soon. But then he notices a group of thieves extorting a knight on the far side of the alley. The knight had already brought the ransom money for the kidnapped person, but suddenly the thieves demanded 3 times the amount, threatening to severely injure the princess if they didn't pay up. Ogre hears all this and normally might have stepped in, but a kidnapped princess spells a political nightmare and he's on vacation, so he's not interested in getting involved. However, when the knight realizes the crooks have no intention of letting the princess go, he tries to fight back and quickly gets swarmed and knocked down. The thieves were about to kill him, but that was more than Ogre was willing to let happen, so he steps in and knocks them out. Once he's at a safe distance, Ogre sets the knight down, and the knight immediately starts yelling at him for letting such scumbags live. He doesn't believe in showing mercy to criminals, and neither does Ogre, but he also won't stand for an ungrateful guy yelling at his savior, so he smacks the knight on the head. Ogre then explains that he has his reasons for not killing him yet, but if there's some issue he can't let get out, the knight is free to call Ogre for help anytime. To drive the point home, he reveals his true ogre form so the knight knows he's serious. Confused at first, the knight eventually decides to reach out to Ogre for assistance. When they meet again, the knight fills him in on the details. He arrived in town with the princess a few days ago, but her arrival was kept secret for her safety. However, the princess, being a dumbass, thought it was a good idea to ditch all her guards and wander through the city alone, which led to her getting kidnapped by the criminal organization. Ogre tells him not to worry, since he already knows the location of the organization's base. The knight can't believe it. Ogre actually used some of his own blood to track down the thieves he beat up earlier, so he knows their hideout is an old abandoned house smack in the middle of nowhere. With that intel, Ogre immediately zeroes in on their base and wipes out all the crooks. Not long after, they find the princess locked up in a back room. While the knight checks on her well-being, Ogre stumbles upon some documents on the floor that reveal the whole kidnapping was planned from the get-go. Once they're outside and have set the thieves' base ablaze, Ogre tells the knight to make sure nothing from tonight ever sees the light of day. But the knight insists on reporting things to his kin, so Ogre calls in a favor. He has the guy hypnotized to keep his mouth shut. The next day, Ogre gets a call from Seiji with some good news. The new generation of goblins has just been delivered successfully. Ogre is glad to hear it, but today's also the day he'll find out if a girl still wants to stick around with him. He's a bit tense, but realistically, there's no reason for him to worry since they're all already hooked on him. There's no way they'd leave him now. They've packed their bags to head back to the cave, but just before they can leave, Ogre is stopped by the princess from the day before, who was dying to meet him. She formally introduces herself, mentioning that she's heard Ogre is the leader of a mercenary group, and she has an important mission for him. She wants him to escort her back to the royal capital. All this time, Ogre's been seriously impressed by how she talks. She sounds way more mature than she looks, and hasn't even flinched once in the presence of a terrifying ogre. It's like her charisma stat is maxed out. Even so, Ogre still turns her down since he's got other plans, and because the princess already has a ton of bodyguards with her. The princess fires back, saying all her bodyguards are boring, and she wants someone like him instead. Ogre tries to explain why she should stick with her guards, but she isn't listening at all, so his explanation completely falls flat. The knight pipes up, saying they'll reward Ogre with a gold plate if he takes the job. He adds that if Ogre really can't escort the princess, they won't force him to help. Once the girls hear that the mission's reward is a gold plate, they immediately start badgering Ogre to accept. A typical escort job would only pay about 10,000 gold, but a gold plate is worth 1 million now. That's a killer deal. Ogre ends up agreeing since he's got some interest in heading to the royal capital anyway. But when it's time to leave, Ogre notices none of the princess's guards are present, and he gets a bad feeling about it. His suspicions are confirmed when the princess admits she ditched all her guards to come here. Now a bunch of knights are frantically searching for her. If Ogre is caught with her under these circumstances, he could easily be mistaken for a kidnapper. Still, he has to honor the contract he signed, and once a contract is signed, it can't be broken. On the road, the princess starts peppering him with questions about the skeleton centipede they're riding and some of the animals she spots in the distance. Ogre patiently answers her questions until he figures they could use a lunch break. So he and Dombey get down to slaughter some critters and cook up some tasty meat. He even disguises the skeleton centipede so it looks a bit less menacing. But Ogre's still got plenty on his plate because the princess proves to be a real nuisance. She keeps getting herself into danger. nearly jumping off the carriage and messing with the twins while they're cooking. Finally, Ogre gives her a good spanking to get her to behave. The journey goes on, and the group eventually stumbles upon a nest of turtle snakes. Ogre is stoked to try out this new meat, but no one else wants to help him clear out the nest, so he's forced to use his earth magic solo to unearth the snakes. Once he's got them out, he starts slaughtering them and tells the twins to get the sauce ready for the meal. By then, the princess seems to have finally learned some manners from Ogre's rough treatment. She offers to help the twins with meal prep as an apology for her earlier antics. Ogre's pretty stoked to see the princess finally getting along with everyone, and when the food's ready, they all sit down to chow down on another killer meal. After eating, they climb back into the carriage to keep moving, and Ogre finds himself even more intrigued by the princess after seeing her grow up. After a while of traveling, they take a short break, and Ogre decides to let the knight join in on the morning training session. Since it sounds cool, the princess chimes in that she wants to try it too. The knight isn't too keen on the idea because training can be risky and she might get hurt, but she's well aware of the risks and thinks learning to defend herself is worth it. Ogre eventually agrees to let her join, and as training goes on, he picks up a few things about both of them. Later that day, as the group makes its way through the mountains, they talk about which route to take the next day. Cutting straight through the mountain is the fastest route, but it's also super dangerous, so the knight suggests taking a detour along the river to play it safe. The mountain cliff path is risky because of the Falaise eagle's beasts with insanely strong wings and venomous claws, but Ogre hadn't even heard about them. So the knight explains that these eagles are the toughest around the mountain, flying fast and packing a nasty poison in their claws. Naturally, everyone wants to avoid that route. But the moment Ogre hears there's a powerful monster on that path he could potentially feast on, he's already decided to hunt it down. The next day, they start trekking right through the canyon. All the regular eagles are a piece of cake for Ogre to pick off so much so that they end up enjoying some fried eagle for breakfast. But after that, the real challenge hits, and Ogre orders everyone to stay in the carriage for their own safety until he gives the word to come out. An hour goes by, and while they still trust Ogre's ability to win, it's been an hour since they last heard from him, and some are starting to worry. Dombey, though, is totally confident that Ogre can take down the Jade Eagle. Even if by some tragic twist, Ogre were to die, she'd immediately head out to avenge him either by killing that bird herself or by dying trying. Just then, they notice everything suddenly quiet, so they pull back the curtains to check if the battle's over. But they're horrified to see that Ogre has lost his arm and is still under attack by the Jade Eagle. Even though it looks like he's losing, he was really just gauging the eagle's strength. Now that he's satisfied with his mild training session, he gets serious grabbing his severed arm so he can eat it and regenerate. After that, he transforms and one-shots the eagle. Once the bird is dead, Ogre finds a spirit stone in its body, a really rare drop, so the girls tell him not to eat it since it's worth a small country's fortune in gold. Following that, Ogre eats some of the Jade Eagle meat and picks up a bunch of new skills along with a fresh transformation from it. But while he's still checking himself out, the princess comes over with another question. She's been watching Ogre for a while now and wonders why he always eats everything he kills. Ogre's been asked that before in his old life, but his answer remains the same. He eats every kill as a way of making up for having taken its life. It's his way of carrying all the burdens and resentment of those who've fallen at his hands, and he doesn't plan on changing his ways anytime soon. On day 109, our crew pulls into a village, and the locals are freaked out by Ogre's presence. In these all-human towns, Ogre knows they have a deep distrust of demihumans until Princess Ruberia flashes her family crest, calming everyone down. Soon the group is welcomed and taken to the village's prime spot, a huge waterfall. After a day relaxing at a hot spring, the villagers throw a party. To show his thanks for their hospitality, Ogre shares his alcohol. One villager gets a bit too handsy and ends up catching Dombey's wrath. To lighten the mood, Ogre kicks off a drinking contest with a prize of 4 silver plates. Unfortunately, since Ogre can't get drunk, everyone ends up passing out trying to beat him. Meanwhile, he snacks on some fish and even picks up a few new abilities. On day 110, as they leave the village, Ogre notices that the twins look a little pale. They explain it's because they cooked for so many people during the festival, so Ogre offers to take over cooking for the day to give them a break. Then on day 111, everyone is shocked when they tell Ogre to stop. The centipede turns out the twins are pregnant with his kids. Ogre immediately contacts Godlike, not knowing what to do. The twins' bellies ballooned in an instant, and Ogre wonders if sending them back to the village would be safe. Unfortunately, Godlike explains they won't make it in time. The unborn children are drawing nutrition directly from their mothers and are born on the spot. If the twins were ogres, that might be fine, but human bodies are just too small. Without enough nutrients, the mothers' bellies could tear. With no time to head back, Ogro decides to look for a nearby spot where they can safely give birth. The twins are in serious pain, yet they assure Ogro not to worry, promising they'll deliver his children soon. Moments later, however, everyone grows anxious as they see the twins starting to look too thin and weak. Clearly, even the alchemist's life potion isn't enough. They desperately need something with a higher nutritional punch to sustain them. Ogro comes up with a wild plan. He knows it's gonna be rough for the twins, but he figures there's no other way. Ogro rips off his own arm and tells them to chow down on his flesh. Everyone's stunned. There's no time to cook it, so they have to eat it raw to get the energy they need. The twins protest and beg him not to do it, but the others remind them that he can just regenerate. One of the twins still isn't having it, so Ogro bites off some of his flesh and feeds it to them himself. He tells them they can hate him later, but he won't let them or their kids die. After feeding them, Ogro finds a decent cave to set up a makeshift birthing area. There are bears in the cave, but he orders the 3 lords to handle them. Then, using his magic, he makes some beds, though the twins are growing so fast they look like they're about to burst. Ogro uses his healing power along with some anesthesia to ease their pain, even though he isn't sure how long it'll last. Soon, one twin's belly stops expanding, and Ogro uses one of his blood minis to update Seiji on the situation. He explains that what he's about to do will be valuable for their base, so Seiji should watch closely. Ogro puts one twin to sleep and conjures a magical scalpel, reminding himself to keep healing and sedating as needed. He starts the procedure. Before long, the twins give birth to a baby boy and a baby girl, all thanks to Ogro's blood and magic. The whole procedure is a success, and the twins' wounds heal quickly. Ogro is relieved he didn't lose them and is proud to be a dad. Later, the princess picks up one of the babies and jokes that they look like little monkeys, but she admits they're cute. Just then, Gobjai steps up and asks to see the babies. He suspects they might be ogre mixed blood, and sure enough, he spots horns on both. He explains that Ogro can have their horns removed while they're still infants. He says when a human woman gives birth to a demi-human child, the kid normally takes after the dad's race, but in 1 out of a million cases, a unique mixed blood is born. These kids pack serious power, yet both races end up seeing them as ugly, doomed to live as dangerous monsters. Ogro takes all the info in stride and decides that even if his kids turn out to be monsters because everyone hates them, he'll still love them unconditionally. Seiji backs him up, noting that everyone in Parabellum feels the same way. Another odd thing, his kids sport orbs on their bodies. Ogro figures it's because he's loaded with orbs and dragon spheres inside him. They name the daughter Oro and the son Argento, while the twins, Felicia and Alma, are doing just fine. Ogro thanks them for bearing his children and declares he wants to build a family with them from now on, and they're all on board. On day 112, Ogro heads out solo to hunt a monster he's never encountered before. After a while, he comes face to face with a beast he dubs the White Stag. Just by its look, Ogro can tell it's boss class, giving him only about a 30% chance of winning, even if he goes all out. Although he hasn't felt the fear of death in ages, this challenge sends his blood racing. Ogro transforms and gears up for the fight, but he's puzzled when the beast doesn't immediately attack. Then the creature sheds its massive antlers and bolts away. Ogro briefly considers munching the antlers for a power boost, but his gut tells him they'd be better saved for his kids. Later, while scouting the area, Ogro runs into a joint force of humans and demi-humans locked in fierce combat. It's clear they're the toughest crew he's ever seen. Their target is a boss monster that's putting up a hell of a fight. The group has already taken out several beasts, but now the boss is about to unleash its deadliest magic attack. Just then, Ogro's new arm weapon blasts the immensely powerful beast to bits. Ogro was nervous to use that attack, but needed to save the group so he could take the fight on himself. The problem now is he isn't sure if he can store the giant monster's remains, but it turns out they will fit. He then shifts his focus to the group. One human stands guard, and that makes Ogro wonder if this guy would have been able to beat the boss if it hadn't been destroyed. Something in the guy's admission convinces Ogro that he would have won against the boss. Ogro commends the guy for doing a solid job during the fight. He decides not to eat the beast and instead pretends he was sent by someone to take down the boss monster. Ogro requests that they let him take the corpse and, in return, he offers to heal their wounds. They agree, and Ogro grabs the monster's carcass as they part ways. The guy is amazed that a creature like Ogro exists, and he can tell Ogro hasn't reached epic level yet. but for some reason he remains completely frozen in fear. One girl wonders if it is because of injuries, but it is really out of fear. The guy then mentions his ability, Voice of Death, which showed him the worst case scenario if they had tried to fight Ogre, and that would have cost them their lives. After devouring the boss and picking up new abilities, Ogre heads back to his cave. His kids, already walking, greet him, and Ogre calls them geniuses. He feeds them a fragment of the stag's horn and notices their abilities improve significantly. Ogre and the redhead try it too, and Ogre is shocked when they gain 2 new abilities with strange symbols. It only took a small piece of the horn. So now Ogre fears he might have made a huge mistake. It is clear that the white stag is not a creature he can tackle right now. That night, Ogre's level climbs past the required threshold again, and all conditions are met, making another evolution available. He can now evolve into an extinct species known as an Apostle Lord. Ogre decides to do it and receives his true name, Yaten Doji. He is supposed to gain some new abilities too, but certain conditions have not been met, so those will come later. On top of that, 8 of Ogre's subordinates are promoted to demon generals. The next morning, everyone is stunned to see Ogre's new evolution. After Ogre snagged his new form, they hit the road the very next day to keep their journey rolling. It turns out that even more of the girls are expectant. Now this time it's the alchemist and the blacksmith. Ogre's been through this rodeo before, so he knows exactly what to do and decides to pull over near a water source so they can get through labor without a hitch. This time around, the labor goes much smoother, and before long, Ogre becomes a dad of 4. Now that both the alchemist and the blacksmith have born his kids, they're important enough to get proper names. We learn that the blacksmith goes by Emery while the alchemist is known as Spinel. Emery delivered a high orc male, which Ogre names Oniwaka, and Spinel gave birth to a regular human girl, which Ogre names Nicola. Every word of it feels like family business now. The following day, they roll into their final transit point, a place called Purgatory. Once there, Ogre orders the princess to put on a disguise so no one in town can recognize her. The knight even remarks that she looks fantastic in it, though Dombey wonders why a disguise is necessary at all. Ogre explains that being so near the royal capital would stir up a major fuss if anyone were to recognize her. For the time being, Ogre wants all the new moms to chill and rest while the rest of the crew heads over to the Adventurers Guild to gather some intel, with the 3 lords tagging along just for the heck of it. At the guild, Redhead is stoked to see a free training area and jumps at the chance to try it out. It turns out that a couple of adventurers, impressed by how tough Ogre appears, ask him if he'd be up for a practice match. Ogre isn't opposed to a friendly bout, but he already knows he could easily wipe them out, so it wouldn't be much fun. Instead, he suggests that the challengers face the 3 lords over there. To really fire them up, he promises that if any one of them manages a win, he'll hand over 5 silver plates as a reward. That offer sparks serious interest among the adventurers, and before long the 3 lords find themselves forced to defend against a relentless onslaught of challengers. Dombey thinks the whole scene looks like a blast, though she'd probably off everyone if she ever got into an actual fight, so she's strictly on duty. Soon after the brawl starts, the adventurers realize they don't stand a chance because the lords are just too tough. Taking advantage of the moment, Ogre introduces himself as the head of Parabellum and declares that they're a mercenary crew with the strongest warriors around. He hands out his business cards, and then he and the crew head into the market to stock up on supplies. While browsing, Ogre spots something that catches his eye, a camera. Since it reminds him of gear from his old world, he buys it on the spot. Back at the inn, he goes off snapping pictures of his kids. That night, Ogre ponders the journey that still lies ahead before reaching Oswell. They're only a few days away from their destination, and he feels a bit uneasy about what challenges they might face. He also realizes that with all the baby drama, he hasn't kept up with the other groups, so he decides to check in as soon as possible. First, he contacts Bludsado's group to see how they're holding up. Bludsado reports that things are going great, although Spelsay has been on a non-stop book buying spree. Ogre doesn't remember giving that kind of budget, but Spelsay explains that she discovered an infinite money glitch. She even uses their accompanying elves as bait. When bandits show up to kidnap the little guys, Spelsay robs the bandits and resets the whole scheme. Ogre can't argue with her method, so he tells her to keep a low profile. After that, Ogre checks in with Dadom's group. She reports that she's been gathering intel non-stop, and while Ogre is pleased to hear she's working hard, he also reminds her that she should take a break sometimes. Next, he reaches out to Group 4. Since they never had a clear leader, they've been bickering over their next move. To fix that, he randomly names Hobgoblin as the leader and wishes her luck with her new role. Ogro's the last one left to check on. He needs to see Ogre Kitch's crew. When he uses his earrings for a visual, he's shocked to see an image of himself being sliced in half. The sight rattles him so much that he orders a detour so he can swing by and see Ogre Kitchi in person. He lets the princess know about the detour, and even though it adds 2 extra days to the escort mission, she's totally cool with it since they're already ahead of schedule. A few extra days aren't a problem for her. Ogro thanks her for being so understanding, and with everyone in agreement, they set out for the maze city of Griffos. Along the way, Ogro has a blast with his crew. At the same time, Dombey is gazing at an old necklace she still wears, and when Ogro joins her, he recognizes it as the one he gave her when he was still a bald goblin. It's only been 4 months, but the memory is nostalgic since so much has changed. Ogro keeps evolving and getting stronger, while she remains just a Dampier. Despite being with him since day 4, she still hasn't gotten pregnant with his child, even after all the rough treatment she's taken. Ogro tells her that no matter how powerful he becomes, he'll never forget her, and whether she bears his child or not, his feelings remain unchanged. Next day, Ogro and his crew roll into Griffos, and knowing that Ogre Kitchi is probably deep in the dungeon, Ogro heads there to check things out. At the entrance, he spots 2 adventurers running for cover. They warn him not to enter because an unstoppable minotaur lurks inside. Ogro then visits the city mayor and tells him he suspects that the minotaur everyone's been talking about might actually be a friend of his. The mayor explains that a team of adventurers has already been sent into the dungeon to handle the beast since it's been causing major trouble. So, Ogro and his crew head back to the entrance to take a look. While they're there, they hear something approaching, and soon it turns out to be Ogre Kitchi and Earthy, both looking huge. Earthy sets down one of the adventurers sent to defeat them, assuring everyone that the guy isn't dead, just unconscious. Ogro demands an explanation for the disturbing vision of his own death. Using his special earrings for a peek, he sees an image of himself being sliced in half. The sight rattles him so badly that he orders everyone to take a detour so he can check on Ogre Kitchi in person. Earthy then explains that deep in the dungeon's lowest depths, a rare beast known as the Mind Mirror attacked them. This creature can morph into the strongest being its foe can imagine, so it assumed Ogro's very form. Ogre Kitchi was nearly defeated, but on the brink of death he evolved into a minotaur and harnessed that newfound power to prevail. What Ogro witnessed was the exact moment Ogre Kitchi overpowered the mimic, meaning the whole ordeal could have been avoided if Ogro had simply called for backup a second time. Now, Ogre Kitchi is a completely new breed of minotaur and Earthy has fully transformed into an Earth Lord. Ogro feels immense relief knowing his worst fears were unfounded. Since they're in town anyway, he decides to spend the night there. But before settling in, Ogre Kitchi challenges him to a sparring match. Ogro anticipated the challenge, so a giant pit is quickly dug to serve as their battleground. Ogre Kitchi had spent countless hours in the dungeon slaying powerful monsters, all with the aim of finally beating Ogro and becoming his equal, a true friend standing shoulder to shoulder. Touched by Ogre Kitchi's earnest determination, Ogro readies himself for an all-out brawl. The two charge at each other and Ogre Kitchi lands a crushing first blow that sends Ogro reeling. The axe he wields is so massive and rugged that no one but Ogre Kitchi could possibly lift it. Caught off guard as Ogre Kitchi swings his axe, Ogro manages to parry, but then an additional burst of fire explodes that he just can't dodge, leaving him badly burned. Thanks to his evolution, Ogre Kitchi can now wield both fire and lightning simultaneously. Ogro's resistance lets him shrug off the lightning, but the fire still takes its toll. In pure firepower, Ogre Kitchi now appears stronger and doesn't give Ogro any room to breathe as he charges in for another strike. Ogro starts to enjoy the fight so much that as he clashes with Ogre Kitchi again, he fires off a sneaky elemental attack on him. The move fails though because Ogre Kitchi twists around and counters it. Then Ogre Kitchi surprises Ogro by unleashing his new Phantom Bowl ability. It gives Ogro a serious headache, forcing him to use one of his own new transcendent abilities that massively boosts all his powers. With that extra boost, Ogro flips Ogre Kitchi over on his head and rains down dozens of spear strikes. Ogre Kitchi struggles to keep up with the flurry, so he goes all out and erupts in flames to counter. The wall of fire blinds Ogro, and before he can react, Ogre Kitchi appears above him. Ogro tries to block with a barrage of rocks, thinking Ogre Kitchi shouldn't be able to dodge while airborne, but Ogre Kitchi simply uses his shield to deflect the rocks as he falls back to the ground like a meteor. Some of Ogro's rocks hit their mark, which only makes Ogre Kitchi more determined to land his meteor attack. However, he fails to account for the spectators who could get caught in his blaze of glory. When the blast finally settles, Ogre Kitchi realizes he screwed up. Ogre, on the other hand, manages to control the airflow so the blaze stays confined to the arena. While Ogre can regenerate from almost anything, Ogre Kitch's little outburst endangered the bystanders, including Oru's kids, and that he will not let slide. Using his black demon abilities, Ogre freezes Ogre Kitchi in place and then smashes him with his giant hammer fist to knock some sense into him so he never tries something as dumb again. Even as he pounds Ogre Kitchi, Ogre only thinks back to the first time he had to teach him a lesson, and he doesn't even feel angry anymore. He just hopes Ogre Kitchi eventually gets back to the ground after being launched like that. On day 121, and our crew finally rolls into Oswell, the royal capital. Ogre explains that his fight with Ogre Kitchi went on until the next morning. Ogre's pretty blown away by the capital, and Princess Riberia tells him that the city's wisdom has helped it grow and thrive over the years. She thanks Ogre for keeping her safe on the trip and promises to hook him up with a special reward. At her palace, Ogre's crew chills at a big feast. That night, the alchemist complains about how cramped the rooms are and how soft the beds feel while the girls struggle to get a decent night's sleep in these fancy digs. The babies seem totally unfazed. On day 122, aside from paying him for his help, Riberia hands Ogre his reward, a note of endorsement that gives him free access to the capital. Ogre gets serious and points out that she hardly knows him. He wonders how she can be so sure he won't abuse this favor. So she explains that she's got a solid read on his character. Riberia has noticed he's sharp in both business and battle, carefully weighing risk and reward. She's convinced a guy like him wouldn't be dumb enough to make an enemy of her kingdom. Ogre now sees just how cold and calculated Riberia really is. She played innocent throughout the journey, but she was sizing him up the whole time. And her reward benefits her too, since making it easy for him to move around the capital means she can call on his services whenever she needs. Ogre is surprised by all this, but glad to have made a friend with a top-notch strategist. As his crew prepares to head out, Riberia's right-hand man explains that the guards won't let her see them off. Ogre shrugs it off, saying they've already exchanged goodbyes, and tells the kid to keep up with his training. Before they leave, Ogre reveals he's planted his blood replicants all over the royal capital. He's sure they'll come back one day, but for now he declares it's time to head back to his village. On day 124, and Dombey is still frustrated about not getting any stronger, stuck at level 89. Ogre tells her he won't leave any of his crew behind and promises to help her train whenever she wants. He urges her not to be shy, so she agrees and asks him to lend her his strength. Without delay, Ogre stops the carriage and orders everyone to help Dombey train. He summons a few giants, and Dombey declares she's gonna push herself hard in training even if it doesn't spark an evolution. She goes all out, charging at the giants, and ends up defeating over 30 of Ogre's beasts, though she's completely wiped out. Even though Dombey is upset that she still hasn't evolved, Ogre reassures her that she did great. He decides to call it a day, but then she unexpectedly collapses. Ogre carries her back to the group, though he himself begins to feel drowsy. The alchemist explains it's probably mana depletion, something Ogre rarely experiences because he's loaded with mana. Ogre is relieved it didn't happen during actual combat, and they get ready for dinner. That night Dombey sees nothing but a black screen in her sleep. On day 125, Ogre is stunned to discover that Dombey has evolved into a vampire noble variant, her true name now being Hekaterina. She tells him she's officially his wife, though acting all noble like that just makes her laugh. Ogre is pleased she's grown stronger, but he's even happier to see her laughing again. On day 126, they finally return to the forest where they were born. Ogre admits he misses their old dark, dank cave. Even if it wasn't much, it'll always be home. Naturally, everyone is shocked when they arrive to find that their little cave has changed a lot. It's no longer dark or dank, and the other groups explain that they've done some serious renovating. Ogre usually surprises everyone, so the crew figured it would be cool to give him a shock for once. The crazy Hobfu credits Lovebirds, Ogre Kitchi, and Earthy for doing the heavy lifting, though they all agree it was a team effort. A quick tour shows they now run a real farm. The Dryad of Ogre's crew has moved in and even leveled up. Their ranch now houses familiar companions, and the residential block reveals they've made plenty of new friends. They even have some chatty cats, though not cut out for combat. They're handy with their paws and ridiculously cute. Just then, a panicked Seiji appears to report that Gobjai has been hospitalized. Ogre hurries over because time is short. The old goblin is told to keep his words few, but he says it's okay since it will be his last time speaking. Ogre introduces Gobjai to his grandchildren, and the old fellow can't believe that the little Ogre he once cradled now has a huge family of his own. After some joking around, Ogre has something important to tell Gobjai before he passes on. Ogre declares he's now an apostle lord and will go by the name Oporu. Ogre Kichi becomes known as Minakichi, and Dambi is now called Kanami. Everyone's happy with their new names, though Minakichi predicts he might need a new one soon if he levels up again. Gobjai teases Oporu for coming up with such simple names, but everyone reminds him that he was the one who started the naming system. Gobjai can hardly believe that one of his little goblin babies actually became an apostle lord. He has lived a long life and is glad to have witnessed something so amazing at his end. Gobjai passes away, and Oporu tells him to rest easy now. As they lay Gobjai to rest, Oporu reflects that Gobjai was barely over 20 years old. And out of nowhere, part of the old man's body starts twitching. Looks like even death couldn't stop the troops down below. They're still plotting one last battle. In honor of Gobjai, Oporu declares it's time for the Parabellum Mercenary Company's fighting tournament. Everyone thinks it sounds like a blast, even Oporu's kids want in. The rules are simple. Everyone fights barehanded, and the bout ends when someone surrenders. There's a severe penalty for taking a life. Winners will get a chance to change their rank in the company. So Oporu tells everyone to give it their best shot. Leveled up Kanami tells Spellsay she's way stronger now, but Spellsay fires back that she's picked up a bunch of fresh spells. They put on a wild demo in a battle that wrecks everything. Meanwhile, the red-headed humans throw down in their own brawl, and so do Earthy and Bloodsato. A few of the others duke it out too, though Hobfu is clearly having the most fun. Soon, cheers erupt as it's time for Oporu to square off with Minakichi. Minakichi tells everyone that Oporu was the main reason he got so strong. He thanks Oporu for that boost, and Oporu admits he feels the same way. They've come a long way together, and Minakichi declares he'll win this bout so he can push himself even further than Oporu. Oporu digs that, and the two charge at each other. Their fearsome attacks crash together, triggering a burst of raw power, and a while later both are left completely unable to move. The tournament results roll in. Oporu takes first, Minakichi comes in second, Kanami grabs third, Earthyism lands fourth, Bloodsato is fifth, and Spellsay ends up sixth. The rest of the group falls into place, though Oporu isn't really surprised by the outcome. Later, the twins dish out food for everyone, and even Oporu's kids look wiped out. Oporu watches with pride as he sees how much stronger everyone's gotten. They've all grown so much, and that pride means more than any trophy. On day 127, Ruberia gets in touch with Oporu, and he tells her his new name. Oporu is shocked when she wants to hire him again, but she explains that the next job won't be a huge ordeal. Oporu knows her well enough to suspect she's definitely up to something. It isn't just a hunch, either he's gathered some intel from his replicants, though the details are still murky. Ruberia explains that she wants to boost Oporu's profile throughout the kingdom, as more notoriety would surely benefit his company. Oporu expected this kind of pitch from her since she knows exactly how to convince him. He takes the bait and agrees to hear her out. Moments later, Oporu and his Parabellum crew are all suited up, and he declares it's time to head to the royal capital. Oporu agreed to the job for the huge reward, but he had no idea just how big of a deal it would turn out to be. Thank you for watching to the end. If you enjoyed this recap, please hit the like button and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or tweaks, share them in the comments. They help me improve.